Uh, I will not go into the details of how this works because you've heard a whole lot about that. I do believe it's a very safe process. I was the sponsor of a Article 5 resolution when I was in the Senate in 2011. It passed in 2012, and I might say it passed 19-5 in the Senate, and with, I believe, a 60 or 61% majority in the House at that point. So I won't go into that. What I want to talk about is why is it needed. So first of all, I believe it's a safe process. I believe we should do it. I believe that the danger of not doing it is far greater than the danger of a runaway convention. So I want to talk about what the purpose of this is. So the first purpose that's limited here is to impose fiscal restraints on the federal government. Now, looking at the committee here, I see a few of you that were here in 1980, as I was, not here in this room, but here on this earth, in 1980. You wonder what the federal debt was in 1980. It was $918 billion in 1980. And I thought that was awful, $918 billion. In 2003, excuse me, in 1998, 25 years ago, it was 3.8 trillion. In 2003, 5 years later, it was 6.8 trillion. In 2012, when we passed the resolution in the Senate and then the House, it was 16 trillion, and today it is 31.5 trillion. So just to put this in perspective, I won't give percentages because they're too big to give. That is a 34.3 time increase since 1980 in our federal debt. It is an 8.3 multiplier increase since 1998, 4.6 since 2003, doubled since 2012. Now, let's talk a little bit about the debt. For years, as you know, we had rock bottom interest rates. The federal debt was being serviced at under 2%. Today, Treasury bonds are being sold for over 4%. If you take that 2% difference in interest, it's $630 billion a year, 0.6 trillion a year increase in service of the federal debt. That's without the federal debt growing. What's that going to do to inflation going on? What's that going to do to budget going on? Now, what brings this about? So that comes to the second part of it, the reining in the power of the federal government. I'm a contractor, general contractor. For 18 years, we built homes and some commercial. Today, we're strictly a commercial contractor. I've been a member for many years of the National Association of Home Builders. Their statistics I saw in December, they came out and they said that today, for the price of a new home, and we all know we want to have affordable housing, for the price of a new home, 41.5% of the cost of a new home is due to regulations. Okay? Now, we know some of those are needed, and I won't argue that, but some of them are way overboard. The bigger problem with it is that many, if not most of those regulations are not created by the federal government or even by the state. They're created by either private or federal or state bureaucracies. Yes, I know there's an approval process, but the approval process generally does not deal with the specifics, as is when we approve a new building code here in New Hampshire. So we need, especially in the federal government level, we need that brought back more to the power of limiting that power of anybody but the legislature making that, making those regulations. I'm very familiar with something that's called WOTUS, W-O-T-U-S. And if you're not in construction or issues regarding land use, you're probably not familiar with that. That's called Waters of the United States. Now, Waters of the United States, when the bill was passed, I believe it was in the 70s, was navigable waters and defined as something you can run a boat on. Initially, that was rivers such as the Mississippi and Missouri that were navigable for commerce. Eventually it was added that it was navigable by boats in general. In, I believe it was 2014 or 15, an executive order came out and then was followed up by rules that expanded WOTUS, the waters of the United States, to be anything that fed a navigable water. And as a result, a man-made ditch that was created by a farmer and had water run through it periodically and might have some wetland grasses and stuff in it, became waters of the United States and became subject to that regulation. It added trillions of dollars to development costs. Much of that stays in place today. That was not approved by Congress. That was not put in by Congress. We need an ability to rein this in. We need an ability for Congress to challenge such rules and be more effective in it. That could be part of this type of a process. We know what's happened with executive orders. Under both Democrats and Republicans, executive orders have taken on the level of law, and I don't believe they're being challenged properly by the courts or by Congress. Do we need this? We need it desperately, and we need it now. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.